You ever hear a sound so wrong it just tears your reality in half? That's exactly what happened the moment I heard that slap. Sharp, mean, totally out of place on a Sunday morning with birds singing and sunlight bouncing off the neighbors' windows. I turned around so fast I nearly dropped my coffee, and there was my little girl, doubled over, clutching her cheek, eyes squeezed tight, and standing over her. Yeah, you guessed it, was Karen. Karen. The yoga pants tyrant, president of the HOA, ruler of all she surveys from her McMansion porch, self-appointed traffic cop of the cul-de-sac. And now, apparently, a grown woman who thinks she can smack a kid in broad daylight. Time sort of melted. My heart was in my throat. My hands started to shake. There was this cold, ugly rage crawling up my spine. One of those moments where you don't know if you'll scream, cry, or just break something. You want a wild HOA story? You're about to get one. But before we hit nuclear, let me rewind, because nobody gets to this level of crazy overnight. It started, as these things so often do, with Karen's precious SUV. See, she's got a way of parking, swings that beast into her driveway like she's docking a cruise ship, and half the time, she manages to bump something. So one morning, she finds a scratch on the side, and instead of blaming her own carelessness, she storms out looking for a villain. And wouldn't you know it, she lands on my kids, my two girls, Emily and Danny, who just happen to love their bikes more than anything. Suddenly, bikes are public enemy number one. Next HOA meeting, Karen strides in like she's handing down a Supreme Court decision. No more bikes. They're a menace. Which, if you translate from Karen essay, means your kids' bikes are a menace. Never mind her own kids are tearing up the street like Junior Lance Armstrongs, leaving tire tracks on people's lawns. My girls? Banned. Just like that. No discussion, no proof, just Karen with her permanent marker and a need to control. Now, you'd think the rest of the board would push back, right? Maybe someone would say, hey, this is a little much. Nope. Everyone just sort of shrugs, too tired or scared to challenge the queen. And my daughters, they're stuck inside, watching from the window while the Karen spawn do laps, hooting and hollering like they just won the lottery. That sight, it just burns, you know? The unfairness, the smug little looks, the way Karen waves from her porch like she owns the whole block. Let me back up a sec. I did try to let it go at first. I'm not a drama chaser. I figured, all right, let's keep the peace. No bikes for a week, fine. But every day, I'd come home and see my girls pressed up against the glass, bikes locked in the garage like they'd done something wrong. And meanwhile, Karen's kids are doing wheelies. That's when I realized, if I don't stand up now, this'll never end. So I go to Karen's house. She answers with that perfect fake smile, arms folded, eyes like daggers. Why do your kids get to ride, but mine can't? I ask. She leans against the door, all casual. Because I'm the HOA president, and you're just a homeowner. If you don't like it, maybe you should move. Like I'm some peasant in her kingdom. I had to literally bite my tongue too. Keep from losing it right then. That night, my girls are quiet at dinner. Danny pushes her peas around and asks, did we do something bad, Dad? Is that why we can't ride? And I just sit there, feeling useless. That's when it hits me. What kind of lesson am I teaching them if I let this stand? So I make up my mind. The rules are bogus. The president is out of line, and it's time to take our lives back. I tell them, tomorrow, you're riding your bikes. Saturday morning rolls around, and I tell them, go ride. Don't worry about Karen. Their faces light up, seriously. Nothing compares to that look. Within minutes, they're out there flying down the sidewalk, hair whipping, laughter bouncing off every house. I stand in the doorway, coffee in hand, just soaking in the sound, until the McMansion's front door slams open so hard it rattles the street. Out stomps Karen, hair wild, bathrobe flapping, gripping her mug like she's about to launch it. I said no bikes. She shrieks, charging down the driveway. My girls freeze, but Emily tries to pedal past. That's when Karen lunges, grabs the handlebar, and yanks Emily off the bike. Then, with a snap, she slaps her hard. That sound will haunt me forever. By the time I reach them, Emily is sobbing, Danny is screaming, and Karen is standing there with this sick smile, like she's proud of herself. I shout, what the hell is wrong with you? Karen just sneers. Maybe now you'll respect the HOA rules. I warned you. I swear, My whole body was trembling with fury, but instead of doing something I'd regret, I pulled out my phone and called 911. Cops showed up within minutes. Sirens, neighbors peeking through blinds, the whole circus. Karen tries to spin her little tale. I was just disciplining. They were breaking the rules, but nobody's buying it. The officer kneels down to Emily, asks what happened, and through her tears she says, "She hit me." That's all it took. The cops cuff Karen right there in the street, her robe twisted, mug forgotten on the curb, the whole neighborhood watching as Queen Karen gets marched off like any other criminal. Yeah, that happened. But here's where the twist comes in. As Karen's being loaded into the squad car, her own husband steps out of the house, pale as a ghost. Turns out, he's had enough of her, too. He walks over, looks me dead in the eye, and says, "I'm so sorry. If there's anything I can do for your family, let me know. I'll talk to the board myself." That's the moment I realized. This wasn't just my fight. Half the block was done. With Karen's power trips, they just needed a spark to stand up. Court wasn't some drawn-out drama. Karen tried to play the victim, but the security camera footage. Oh, did I forget to mention we had cameras? Shut her down quick. The jury took maybe half an hour. Guilty on all counts. Child endangerment, battery, you name it. Fines, community service, even jail time. She came back a pariah. Kids wouldn't go near her. Her own board voted her out, and the HOA went from fear to freedom almost overnight. The best part? Next weekend, every kid in the neighborhood, even the ones who used to side-eye my girls, showed up on their bikes. Emily and Danny led the parade, head high, grinning ear to ear. It was like reclaiming something bigger than just a ride. It was about standing up when nobody else would. Now, every time I see a neighbor, there's this unspoken understanding. Nobody runs the block alone, not anymore. But hey, you tell me, did justice get served, or did it go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever faced a neighborhood tyrant, I want to hear your story. Smash that like if you believe in standing up to bullies, and share this if you know someone who needs a little push to speak out. Community's not about who shouts the loudest. It's about who stands together when it counts. That you'd think after a showdown like that, life would settle down, right? For about a week, it actually felt peaceful, like a heavy storm finally breaking, sunlight pouring in, everyone taking a deep breath for the first time in years. Even the air in the neighborhood felt lighter, if that makes sense. My girls could finally ride without looking over their shoulder. Neighbors started waving again, some even coming by just to thank us for standing up. For the first time, I thought maybe, just maybe, we'd turn the page for good. But here's the thing about HOAs. Cut off one head, and sometimes another one pops up in its place. Let me back up a section. About 10 days after the whole Karen circus, we all get this fancy letter on thick, cream-colored paper. Official as can be, gold-embossed HOA logo at the top. It's from the interim president. Some new guy named Mark Bennett who moved in last year, real estate lawyer, drives a Tesla, always got that Bluetooth in his ear like he's closing million-dollar deals even while walking his dog. The letter's got all this legalese about restoring order and reaffirming the community's standards, but the part that really gets me is buried right in the middle. All bike riding is suspended, pending further review. Not just my girls, not just Karen's kids, everybody. At first, I just stare at the letter and laugh, because honestly, how do you suspend childhood? But sure enough, Mark's got his clipboard out next morning, strutting up and down the block like he's running some kind of property patrol. You ever meet someone who's technically polite, but gives off this vibe like they're always calculating, always 3 steps ahead? That's Mark. He doesn't yell, doesn't throw a fit. He just starts citing rules, threatening fines, dropping little reminders about how the board is watching. The old fear starts creeping back in. My girls, they're braver now, but even they start to hesitate. One night, I catch Emily staring out her window, clutching her bike helmet. She asks me, "Dad, is it always going to be like this? Just one rule after another." That hits me like a punch to the gut. I tell her we're not backing down, but the truth is, I don't have a plan. This time, Mark's not sloppy or loud. He's careful, strategic, the kind of guy who'd rather drown you in paperwork than shout you down on the street. Then, out of nowhere, the twist nobody saw coming, Mrs. Alvarez. You know the type. Late 60s, little white poodle, always has fresh-baked cookies for the kids. Been living on Maplewood Lane since it was just gravel and wildflowers. Turns out, Mrs. Alvarez has been quietly documenting everything. Karen's tantrums, Mark's letters, even old minutes from meetings nobody else remembers. One evening, she knocks on my door, folder in hand, and just says, "It's time someone told you the truth about this HOA." We sit at my kitchen table, and she lays it all out. How a small group's been running the board like a private club for years, changing bylaws without anyone really noticing, using technicalities to push out families they didn't like. She's got proof, too, photos, signatures, even a recording of Mark hinting he'd take care of anyone who made trouble. My head is spinning, honestly. I ask her why she never spoke up. She shrugs, says, "I always hoped someone younger would have the energy. But you did. Now you just need a little backup." Next HOA meeting, I walk in with Mrs. Alvarez and a stack of evidence so thick you could prop open a door with it. Mark tries to keep things quiet, all calm and collected. But when Mrs. Alvarez stands up, sweet, gentle, cookie-baking Mrs. Alvarez, and starts reading off those secret votes and sketchy bylaw changes, you can feel the whole room shift. Neighbors are leaning in, whispering, people I never thought would care suddenly paying attention. Even Mark's confident smile starts to slip. Here's where things get wild. Someone's been live streaming the meeting. Within hours, the whole neighborhood's buzzing, emails flying, people furious they've been kept in the dark for so long. By the end of the week, there's a recall petition going around. Mark tries to call a special session to shut it all down, but this time, nobody's scared. When the final vote comes, he's out, overwhelmingly. For the first time, real elections, real choices. People volunteer, voices that were always silent step up. Mrs. Alvarez is on the new board, and so are two parents whose kids play with mine. It feels right. The next Saturday, we throw a block party, not to celebrate anyone losing, but to finally act like neighbors. Kids everywhere, bikes zigzagging down the street, music playing, grill going. Emily and Danny race down the cul-de-sac. And Mrs. Alvarez is there, laughing and handing out ice cream. Even some of the old board members come by, shaking hands, starting fresh. For a while, it almost feels like the neighborhood I always dreamed of. But here's the funny thing about justice. Just when you think it's settled, someone always finds a new angle. Later that night, Mark drives by slow, windows rolled down, watching the party in silence. He doesn't stop, but I can feel it. A storm's always possible. HOAs, like life, are never really done with drama. So, I gotta ask you, does a happy ending in a place like this ever really last? Or do you think it's just another calm before the next showdown? Would you have handled things differently? Or was this the only way to take back the street? Drop your thoughts below. Let's hear your real stories, your neighborhood victories and disasters. Smash that like if you want more true HOA drama, and share this with someone battling their own cul-de-sac chaos. Community isn't a rule book, it's people who decide when enough is enough. You know what I mean?